my character, Scarlet, gets a call from Amber Waves, and it's clear that there's something going on with her that makes me want to go to be with her. I think there's certain people in your life that when they call, you go. They don't call often, and they don't ask a lot. I don't even know if she asked for very much, but there was something in her voice that said to me that it was time to put everything aside and go be with her. Once I started spending time with her, I started to let things happen, maybe spur of the moment, maybe watching her, keeping my eye on her, and realizing that I had to get her out of the places and get her away from the people that were making her see herself in a certain way, where she wasn't a person anymore. She was an object. And this is compounded by the fact that we're going to the porn awards. Amber is so in over her head at this point because, her spirit's not in it anymore. She can't convince herself that there isn't a piece of her soul being taken away now. I think that there's a place where she realizes that people come in and out of your life, sometimes for a day, sometimes for longer, and all of them make you what you are. You can't separate these people out of you. They form who you are. Even the ones that you kind of say, well, I don't know if I want to be formed by them anymore. But you are in some way. You are. That's why maybe you don't have to look at them so harshly because they have affected you. At the end, though, it's us as individuals with our love for the land, for something intangible, that when soulmates come and go, you're never alone, even when you're standing just you and your shoes, because you carry them with you. Wednesday is a mixture of many things, mainly because she's at a place now where she realizes that love is a bit complicated, and it's not just about a fantasy that you have of somebody. And so Wednesday is kind of involved and complicated because it's not a cut and dry sort of idea. It's not, I don't like this person. It's not that simple. I think you might be really very taken with somebody, and they might be very much in your life, but there are things that they do that are quite disrespectful or cross a line in a way that is very passive-aggressive, so you can't really talk about it. Manipulation makes her cry, especially when it's with people that you supposedly are close with. You see, covert activity you would think happens with the outside forces, not the inner circle. And Wednesday's very messy. It seems like a happy little song. But it's as I said before, things aren't cut and dry. Strange comes, I think, in the cold and the ice and the snow. There's a beauty to it that's always made me fall in love, I guess. I can fall in love in the snow. I guess it's a good thing to remember. The ice is very sexy to me. And they're blowing this ice smoke back and forth. And that's what it does for me. So, yeah, I could fall in love in the snow and have done many times. And so I guess Scarlet's falling in love in the snow here. And she follows him. Maybe she's in love with a moment in time as much as anything else. And maybe part of it is a memory of someone that she's breathing into him. But at a certain point, she knows that she can't be the only one that has enough love here. Sometimes you don't have to necessarily spend a lot of time with somebody to have exchanged a lot of yourself and taken away parts of them that become a part of your body map, that sort of become written, tattooed on you in some way. And it can't be seen visibly, but it's felt internally. Carbon is this woman that Scarlet has gone to see. She's carbon made, but she only wants to be unmade. There is a brilliance, though, to carbon, as there's a brilliance to a diamond. But people chip away and chip away and chip away at this person because of their brilliance. They wanted her, so they excavated her. So there's not a lot left in some ways, but a whole nother world has been created in other ways for her to survive it. So Scarlet is having to deal with both these people who live in the one being of carbon. I think Crazy provides, yes, stability. He's consistent and he's quite understanding of madness. He's not afraid of it, and he's in control of it. So I think in a way that's very seductive to Scarlet at this time, because things have been unraveling and they haven't been consistent, and people who she thought was one way were maybe not that way, and maybe she had certain beliefs that if you love somebody, you're going to like them too, and that isn't necessarily true. They go for quite a spin. They go up through the Tetons and up over Beartooth Pass, back into Montana yet again, and go around Crazy Horse's stomping ground, and then they come through Cody and swoop back through Jackson Hole. They were there already, had a hot tub, and then they tip through Idaho for a moment and get into Utah. And in that gorgeous canyon country, where they're alone, and being alone in the desert with a man is something that Scarlet seems to like doing. It's kind of handy because there's nobody else around to distract him. All focus is on them relating to each other. The Southwest has this effect on her where she looks deeper into things and she's able to hear the ancestors more clearly. And she's been to a place where a long time ago there was a massacre that happened to the Apache, to mostly women and children. And there's a voice that she begins to hear of an old woman that's sitting by a fire. She's hearing it in her dream time, and she's hearing it more and more with every day. And she starts to follow this trail, this voice, this story that she's picking up historically. So on some level, I guess, the Aboriginal idea of song lines has begun to sort of wrap itself around that another culture is sort of supporting this concept that a song is determining where she goes. But if you don't know the song, you can't get in to the next land space. That's how song lines work. I don't know if any of you all have nieces, but Scarlet has a niece that just has pulled in this loser creature. And so here she is dealing with, oh great, I get this phone call from Niecy Poo's mom. And we don't get into, too much, but of Scarlet's family and anything else. It's all a bit ambiguous. But you know that there's something happening with this beloved niece. And she's, I guess you could say being defecated on by this sort of voyeur person. So it's one of those moments where even if you have a resolve to not go to a place and do something, there's something that pulls at you, especially when you remember somebody's a little girl. Oh, you just cannot let them become moldy cream cheese for somebody. It's just, you get an extra sort of ounce of fire. So that's sort of where she is. It's a little moment of being a vigilante, I guess. Well, she's in Texas. She's in Austin. She's in a very liberal place in Texas where she had met people that introduced her to people that I guess you could say are questioning the political integrity of the good guys, quote unquote, the good guys. Meaning us, I guess, those that are called the good guys. And so this is very much a Central American question. there's a revolutionary type character that is educating her in some of the transgressions that have happened and some of the factual things that have happened, and also his point of view all at the same time. And he's very much about action, and he's very passionate about it. And she's seeing somebody passionate about something. And so she begins to really understand that she's got to know what it is that she believes in and where she's willing to go with this. Because he knows what he believes in. There's no question about that. And he stands by what he believes in. Really sweet sangria is their time together. It's really about them as a unity. Here she goes, trundling across the country, making her way somewhere, not quite sure where it's leading her. But she goes to the Mississippi, and not far out of Memphis is where there's a national monument. There's this acknowledgement of where a lot of the Cherokees died. Didn't make it to Indian Territory on the Trail of Tears, where a lot of them perished. And in Your Cloud, so much of it is about segregation, even of a raindrop, the separation of that, the tearing apart of a tear, extracting that, cutting that apart, the division. It's about separating that which you cannot separate. Not really. There will be strands, there will be molecules. And taking those people from their land, the land of the ancestors, taking a child away from its mother, that doesn't mean that there aren't pieces of that child still in that mother just because it's been, delivered from her womb. Because a couple separates doesn't mean that there aren't pieces of him still in her. She picks herself up from division, and she moves on into Delaware and then on up through New Jersey, and she's following a different sort of questioning now with Pancake, and it's about power. She's on the East Coast. She's going through arguments in her head. She's reading as much as she can, and she's taking in information. She's going and listening to people speak. She's very much where the learning centers, quote unquote, are. And she's drawn to hearing how people see the world. There's someone in this who has a lot of power, and she's drawn to this person who speaks and who's able to rally people. But he doesn't seem to really walk it. And there are other people then that she begins to look at more closely, whether they're leaders or whether they're people she knows. people who say one thing and yet it just doesn't feel right, and there's so much at stake. She believes at a certain point America's soul is at stake. The moral compass has been manipulated, and that's what she's discovering. She thinks she's got it all figured out, and then she goes to Boston Airport. And that is when the thread leaves her and follows another woman on a different plane. And Scarlet takes a little plane, and she gets into New York. And she gets into New York City, where she sees this plane that this other woman is on, that the thread followed and tied itself to. She sees this plane crash above New York City. And the thread comes back to her while she's on the ground, and in the panic and the chaos that happens, she's able to see and hear what this woman went through before she died. So she takes that thread with her. And she doesn't want to leave New York. I think it's almost like feeling a friend that's wounded, not wanting to leave their side. At a certain point, though, she goes. It's time for her to go. In a strange, strange time where the masks are down, she hooks up with Mrs. Jesus. And he is quite a, I guess you could say, a blast from the past. But she needed a ride, and he had one to offer. And he's very much, I guess you could say, one of those men that is probably more aware of women than a lot of women, and gentle and fierce, and has a lot of qualities that I think she would like to have in herself. Physically, he's not a woman, but he seems to be able to understand women. And he's in touch with certain things. Mrs. Jesus is in a pretty good space. He's able to shed some light on religious fanaticism. And he's able to shed some light on, people using Christianity for their own means, what that looks like. The Christianity that was sown in America, some of it gave people religious freedom, as we know, and some of it took religious freedoms away from the native people, where they weren't even allowed to speak their language for a long time. So, these things that are part of our history, her story, America's story, is something that is imperative for her to know, for Scarlet to know, if she's going to truly accept America for who she is. You have to know the truth. When she gets to Chicago, she's meeting up with people, mostly women, who have lost a gay friend. And in his death, she's kind of seeing what it brings out in people, and who some of these women really are. Not who she thought they were. Disillusionment again. And in some cases, she kind of knew all along with some of them. Some of it didn't surprise her. But she's seeing what people are really made up of. And this isn't the outside now. This is not the enemy. The terrorists, the terrorism just happened back in New York City. This is something. These were friends, acquaintances maybe, in some cases. And the betrayal is there. So the idea of betrayal, there are all sorts. There are all kinds of betrayal. And I think she's trying to come to terms with that inside. The betrayal of an outside force where then you become defensive and nationalistic. And then the betrayal that, wow, you're completely stripped bare because it's from the inside. It's an inside job. I really liked the idea that Scarlet takes a taxi all the way down. Because, let's face it, the people, she doesn't want to hitch a ride with anybody she knows. Are you kidding me? I kind of love the idea that all these things can happen in this stranger's car. It's always fascinated me, the things that I say in taxi cabs over the years, all over the world. So that's a little bit of my own kind of read on it. She's on this idea of women now. And I think being around all these women who have all these different kind of perceptions of each other, and you could say some of them are intimidated by each other, and some of them are envious, and some of them really kind of like the other one, but are afraid of being rejected, so they don't know how to approach them. There's all that going on. So busy, like bees. And she makes her way into the warmth of Florida. She takes her time. She's driving now. She's on her own. And she's thinking about women and women's relationships with each other and what it brings up. And so she sort of goes to the land for this one. This one place that's where a lot of people come to soak in, to feel sensual and warm and healed and delicious. So she's in Florida and goes to another land where people go to feel delicious. Another paradise. And she finds that there's room enough for both of them, that they're both very different. And desire is very much a part of all this. And at the end of the day, desire will do what she does best, which is make you desire that which is not yours. She moves on to Hawaii and then comes back to Florida, not feeling like she needs to betray one or the other, that she can value both of them, that there's room enough for both of them. I think there's healing all along the way in different parts of this. But that's really for the reader and the listener to sense, because it's in the music, a lot of that. Those are clues. But it takes you, I think, to her real feelings, the music is always the place where the clues are. I think she's ready now. I think that she's been preparing for this and breaking herself down and letting herself soar and shedding ideas and ways of being to be able to take this in. You know, this is a climax for her. Well, she's been through St. Augustine, which was one of the early settlements from the Spanish, and she's walked those streets. And she's been to the early settlements in Massachusetts, and she's been on the Cape, and she knows the influences and their trials. And so now that she is working her way up, through Savannah, and there's a balmy sweetness she has with Savannah. She moves into Charleston, and she's picking up the threads of the early settlers that came and what their needs were. And she's trying to find compassion for all that as she then goes to walk the walk, which is, yes, a breeze through Jonesboro. And she then moves up through the Cherokee sacred land, what was their capital, and she moves through where the Trail of Tears began for the Cherokee people. And this is explored in Scarlet's Web. And I think that as she walks this walk and is able to feel it with every step and in her cells, there is a humbling of soul, and there is a commitment that she makes to a voice, whether you call it the ancestors, to a belief, to a spiritual path, to something that is ringing true for her. She couldn't follow sweet Sangria. She couldn't follow his path. But this is something that is true to her. This walk in Scarlet's Walk. This is her map. He found his and was living it. And she is finding hers and is ready to live it. In a way, there is an honoring of my ancestors in this that escaped the Trail of Tears. Well, I should say survived it. Nobody escaped it, but survived it and put their roots down around the Smoky Mountains and from Chattanooga to the Carolinas. And I think that the stories that got passed down through the generations, they have taken root inside of myself. And there is a coming home with this song. There's a deep coming home. And there's also a commitment to being a night watchman for the sacred land and this place that we call America, being a caretaker, along with many, many, many other people that are being called this time to light the torch within themselves, to know that what we do now in these very troubled times, what we do in them will affect the next generation in such a complete way. It doesn't mean there's not time for giggles or anything else. You can do that. But it is something that takes her right through her skin, through her organs, through her bones, and grabs her and shakes her and holds her and says, "Do you know where you stand as you walk?" Going and visiting Virginia, there's a sweetness and a sadness because she's able to hear this voice that goes back hundreds of years. She's able to go back in time with this voice, and she's able to really see sort of the innocence of America at that time as a teenager. She sees some of it in Scarlet's walk, but it gets very mature, that voice in Scarlet's walk. It's all knowing America when she talks to Scarlet about what happened. But in Virginia, you know, she's a young girl. And I guess Scarlet is trying to go back in time and talk to America as that teenager. And say, hey, you know, you might not want to be so trusting, or hey, you know, you might want to think about this before you stop speaking your language here, and here, and give it all up and renounce what your soul knew was true. Oh, all those things that you want to tell somebody who's a teenager. Gold Dust is very much about being other people and feeling how they feel, and feeling how you felt at another time when you've been in another place. And it really isn't your past, because somehow these frames are written on your body and they've made you what you are. Nothing is gone. It's just on your body map. And this project has been very much about finding, I guess, my body map. I think if you're going to really write a work about a road trip and about America and who she is, then you have to go see her in all her glory and all her bad fast food joints and good truck stops and everything in between. You know, you can't just go to the coast and then do the flyover country trip. You really have to experience it. And the crazy thing about it is the gold that we found, you find it so much when you're not even thinking that you're in it. And you turn around and you see this pair of eyes and somebody puts a bowl of chili in front of you, and it's heaven. It doesn't get any better than that.